Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Let's Build That App.com channel. Hope you guys are doing well out there in the Swift world of development. And I hope you're ready for today's exciting video on building out our Firebase chat application. The very last video, I want to show you exactly where we left off. And basically, every time you click on the new message at the very bottom here, we're loading this screen, and I showed you guys how to implement the auto scrolling for this message view here. For example, see the auto scrolling in all of its glory. Click the send, you'll see the message showing up here. So that is pretty good. Today's video, we are going to now finally go back to our main message view here. So currently, if you go back to your main message view file, you'll see this dummy messages view, which is right over here, I believe, and you'll see a bunch of dummy messages inside of your scroll view. And that's kind of why we are seeing this in the middle here. Today's lesson, we're going to fill up this screen with some actual messages inside of our app. The first thing I'll do is I'll show you how this works inside of the finished version of our application right over here. So before I do that, let me drag in the 13 Pro simulator as well. And just keep in mind that these are both the same versions of the finished application. This user on the left is the Misty user, on the right is Pikachu, as signified by the icon on the top left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this top row message sent by Misty by long pressing and hit delete like that. You'll see that message disappear. Now, the next thing I'll do is I'm going to message Pikachu again from Misty on the left. You can do this by just simply clicking into Pikachu like so. And if I type in a new message for Pikachu on the right side, you'll see this message appear at the very top there, right above this crepe user. Let's see that in action now by hitting the send. You'll see the message here as well as the Misty message at the very top. And in addition to the message showing up there, we're also going to have that message show up here as well. So you see new message for Pikachu is showing up at the very top of the list. So that's hopefully the function that we'll build out in today's video. And if we have enough time, we'll also discuss the long press delete there. The message contains the image of your user, obviously, the email, I believe, and the bold, the actual text right here, and also the time that this message was sent. So let's go ahead and see how this is built out now. First thing I'll do is I'm gonna go back to my chat log view screen, which is this lovely preview on the right side there. Let's wait for this bad boy to fire up there. And basically the goal of today's video is to I'm going to go back to my chat log view model, which is this class here. And, we have the fetch messages function above. And then finally, at the very bottom, we have something called handle send. And basically, handle send is now responsible for sending messages for our users in the blue and the white bubble. And in addition to saving a document for each of my messages here, I'm going to save another document under a different collection for Firestore. So what I mean is when I'm done sending a message somewhere right here, I'm going to persist a different type of message as well. The way to do this is to simply look at a different function. This will be easy. I'm going to say persist recent message like so. And I think that's all I need. So make sure to put this function above the chat text clearing like that. This way I can access the actual chat text before I clear it out. And let's kind of see what this function will do. So persist recent message will just use an empty list of parameters. And now I think I'm ready to start talking about my new collection of objects. Let's fix that up here with the self in front of that. And I think we can go down to this function now. All right, so nothing too hard to follow just yet with the code up to this point. And what I'll do is I'm gonna go to Firestore and let's see, Firestore Manager. Let's access this shared instance guy right here, Firestore. And this guy, I'm going to introduce a brand new collection. Let's just call this the recent messages with the underscore like so. And then we can do this here. So for the actual recent message, these guys are going to save all of the messages inside of your main view here, for example, this screen. So this is going to be very similar to how we save the message inside of these bubbles here. And the way I'm going to do this is to use a document like this. So document, and this guy, I'm going to save the current user's ID inside of this UID guy. Firebase manager dot share dot auth dot current user dot UID like so. Otherwise return. And then the next thing I'll do is I'm going to pass in this UID here. What I want to do is just pass in that UID to the document. And then next up, I'm going to save something called a messages array. So this collection is going to be called the messages here like that. And then finally, I'm going to declare yet another document with a path like this. So it's going to look like the owner of this recent message is specified by the first UID. And then after that, we have this collection called messages. It doesn't really matter so much what this is called, but this is the name that I'll use. And then next up here is the person that I'm actually sending the message to. So we can do something like guard and let toID equals self dot the actual chat user that we're sending the message to. And this guy has the UID like so. All right, so this is the toID like that. And I think I have a handle on my document there. So let document equals all of that on the right side. And now we're ready to actually set the data on the document with this completion handler there. All right, now we have two different little fillers to kind of complete. First thing is this data guy. And the way to actually talk about this data is to construct it one property at a time here. Now, one thing that you'll need is something called a timestamp. And this way we can sort the ordering of our recent messages. So you'll almost always going to require one of these guys here. And you can just construct it using a timestamp like that. And we'll add some extra properties, but I want to fix this with the actual data that we save. And here is the completion handler. If let error equals error like so, self.error message equals fail to save a recent message, and we'll tack on the error like that, and otherwise just return. Just for completion's sake, we'll also print out this message like so. And I believe that's okay. I think that's what I need. All right, so I just hit Command Option P. I'm waiting for this preview to light up to the green color yet again. Hopefully it should work. I don't believe there are any problems, so this should be fine. All right, so the green dot is now back. Let's go ahead and now fill out the rest of this data dictionary. So you can have things like the actual text that you're sending, and that will come from the self.chat text right here. Again, make sure that you have your function, this persist recent message. You want to execute this before you clear out the chat text below. And then next up, we'll save the from ID and the to ID, very similar to what we had before. So this is the, I believe it's the UID like that. You might want to call this the from ID. Maybe I'll change this in a next step. For these constants right here, this is the to ID. I will use the to ID from above like that. So click on this guy, make sure to cast this as a string to any, and you should be good to go. I made some constants for these string values. Let's see, Firebase constants from ID like that. And this way, it's a lot easier to not mix things up. Here is my text right here, and I believe I have the timestamp as well. Okay. So pretty good stuff. You might want to make a constant for this as well, because we'll be using this string later on. Now, the last thing to do is to confirm that this actually saves a message inside of Firestore. So I'm going to go ahead and run the preview one more time. I'll click a new message like this, and I will verify a message is saved in Firestore, and we'll click on that right here. So this is showing up now in the blue. Next thing I want to do is to go back to my console, which is inside of my Safari browser here. We'll click on the messages here, and now you'll see this node called recent messages. It's a new node that contains one single document for the user that I'm logged in as back there. And inside of that user's document, we have another collection, and that collection is called messages. We have one document in there that belongs to the user, the ID that I'm sending that message to. Now, later on, you'll see the messages collection here. It's going to fill up with a ton of different other documents for other users that I'm messaging. And let me show you what this will eventually look like here. So let me put that there. Hopefully you guys can see the changes. So for example, let's say I'm messaging a different user, right? Let's go with the haha@gmail.com here. And we'll see another recent message being saved. I'm going to hit the send here, and you'll see every time I send a new message, right, it's going to override whatever is kind of in here. So the first message was here, the second message is showing up here. And if I send another message, I believe this field will change. So let's say 123, 123, hit the send here. You'll see this text being modified like so. And basically this collection right here called messages, it's a collection of all of the documents that will show up inside of my main screen here, which will eventually be right over here. All right, so that is pretty good. The other couple of things that you want to be very careful about is this data dictionary. So if you look at the final version of your app, right, the user that you're sending the message to, the only information that we have about that person is the to ID here. If you want to be quick about this, you can solve this problem. So for example, we have the image of the user that we're sending the message to, right? So that person has a profile image URL and also their email or username is there. One thing that you can do is you can save the actual person's profile image here. And I'll just do profile image URL. And you have to be very careful about this step because when you're saving this recent message, you can get the profile image URL through this string right here. And this chat user profile image URL, this is the person that you're sending the message to. So just be aware of that. I'll coalesce it to the empty string like so. And the other thing that you'll want to save is the username or the email. So, for this application, I'm using the email. You can use a username if you want to. And all of this stuff here, if you want to ignore this optional chaining, you can do this instead. I'm going to grab the chat user out of the chat user equals that, and we'll just return like so. I don't really like all of these spaces for the autocomplete, so I'll just remove it like that. And I think we are okay. This right here, we'll just use the chat user.email like so. And I believe everything should compile. What's going on here? I believe this is looking a little weird. So what's going on here? So we need a comma to finish off our dictionary. And once we have our comma, the errors do go away. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to message this, see, where is my user? I believe I'll message the waterfall user. So ABCDEF, I'm going to send that message and go back to my database. It's this message right here, ABCDEF. You'll see we have the email as well as their profile image URL here. Now, saving the email and the profile image URL directly into this node, it's not exactly 100% safe to do that because let's just say the user, Misty, or whoever you're sending the message to, right? Let's say they decide to change their profile image to something else randomly. That means that this URL is no longer the URL for their profile image. And so, this URL link might be obsolete if that happens. But you'll notice that because these recent messages are so, I guess, up to date, or they save messages that are coming into the system quite often, this image URL will be updated every time a new message comes in. So the chance of this profile image URL being obsolete is pretty low. And even if it's an obsolete image, it still used to belong to that user. So it's not a huge problem that this URL, isn't perfectly up to date. And the same logic can go for the email or the username of your user here. They might change their username, and eventually this might not be, the most up-to-date username. It's really up to you to figure out if you want to persist these properties this way. Another solution that you might want to use is you might not want to save these 2 bits of information inside of this message here. And instead, what you can do is you can rely purely on the toID here to fetch the user inside of Firestore. So this R8Z value, it really belongs to this user here. So let's look for the R8Z. You can imagine that inside of your application back here, right? Basically, whenever you get your recent message back, you can just look at the UID and figure out this information anyways. So that takes another step in the loading of your users. And, it's an extra step. I'm not sure if it's worth doing or having all that effort in your app, but it's really up to you on how you want to implement the user fleshing out strategy. Maybe I'll show you the solution for both, but in any case, we now have a recent message node saved like this here. All right, that is pretty good. And you're going to have to save this data dictionary for the other user that's receiving your message. So I'll let you guys figure out what these properties need to be. Let's see. So you'll need to save another very similar dictionary for the recipient of this message. And how. So I'll let you guys think about how to do that. I'll provide the solution in the downloads below. All right, so the next thing we have to do is I'm going to go back to the main messages view, and I'm going to start fetching all of these messages for the current user. So let me head back to the main messages view. All right, you'll see we have our main messages view model, pretty much controls everything we have inside of this list here. And then let me see what I want to do. I want to declare a struct for this recent message that I'm saving inside of Firestore. And this guy is going to have to be an identifiable of some kind. This way I can use a for each on it. And then we will save all of the information such as the text, the from ID, the to ID. And what else do we have? We have the timestamp. So these are all string values there. Let the timestamp be of the Firebase.timestamp value. And what else do we have here? So I don't believe we can access Firebase like that. So I'll import Firebase into that, and I think we'll be fine. So you'll see for the actual message here, we are conforming to identifiable. And whenever we do this, it's almost always the case that we're going to use the document ID for the identifiable. So I'll declare it like that. And we will just declare an ID that fulfills your identifiable protocol. And we'll just pass back the document ID like so. And I believe this information is enough. You can also get the email and the profile image URL as strings like that. All right, so this is going to be very similar to kind of decoding our messages. So I'll type this out relatively quickly. And this is the data that comes back from my Firebase document. This will be a string to any like so, and then we will simply set the document ID equals document ID like that. And the rest of this information you can decode on your own time. Let's just use the text right here equals the data and text like that as a string. Otherwise, we nil coalesce it to nothing like that. So self timestamp, I believe I can do this here. So I'm going to just simply decode these couple of properties. And I will use that here. That should be pretty good. This is okay, I believe. We can nil coalesce this down to, I believe, timestamp has the dates, and we'll just use now, like so. And I think that's okay. Maybe we'll use that. So this basically constructs a new date based on the current time. Now, all of these values here, I'll let you decode it on your own time, but I'll just do that here and here and here as well. Maybe I'll get the email as well. So let's do this here. So I'm gonna put the email right here, right there, and I'll leave the profile image here. So I'm going to let you decide on how to decode those properties. And here is the email, and we'll do that. Okay. So that looks good. Again, make sure to decode these properties as well. I will leave those as blank for now. And well, why don't I just do it really quickly? I think I can do that. All right. So the firm ID is this right here. We'll do that. And then the to ID is here and here, and the profile image URL. Yeah, just want to do that now before I forget. There are constants for these strings, so make sure to check for those. And I believe I'm good to go. All right, now that we have this dictionary for the recent message, I can go back to my main messages view model. And inside of here, I'm going to say, fetch recent messages and something like this here. This guy will be a private function that I'll introduce right here. All right, now you can go ahead and start doing this. I'm gonna say guard let, and UID equals the Firebase manager.share.auth.currentuser.uid. And I'm going to fetch all the messages that we're saving underneath the recent message node. And it's going to look like this. So Firestore or Firebase manager dot share dot firestore dot collection. We're using the recent messages node. And what do we have? We have the document belonging to the current user like that. And then we have the collection of messages like so. And then inside of this collection, we're saving all of these messages, right? So it's the recent message, the current user's ID right there, and then this message node, and then all of these documents. So we'll just listen for all the documents inside of this guy. So it looks like this here. Hit enter. Here is your query snapshot, and here is your potential error. And self.error message equals if let error equals error, like so. So we will bring this up, and we'll say fail to listen for recent messages, and we'll type this out here, and we'll print it out as well, and bail if something terrible happens. Okay, now the next thing is to actually construct these messages from this query snapshot. And the way I'm going to do that is this. Inside of this view model, we're going to create this recent messages array. Let it be a recent message array like that. Start it off as blank and empty. And then down below, you can simply say query snapshot. So query snapshot has the document changes. And every time something is added, so for each is like so, here's your change. If the change.type is equal dot added like that, then I will do this. I'm going to say self.recent messages dot append, and here is the recent message model that comes with the initializer and the document ID from above. So it's basically this initializer here. And then this will come from the let doc ID equals change.document.doc ID. And then we'll pass in the doc ID there. For the data dictionary, I believe it's the document.data like that. I believe this is all I need for the fetching. I'm looking at this if check, and it might not be necessary. So I'm going to just do this right here. So I don't think that's necessary, and it'll be apparent why in just a moment. All right, hopefully things are working. I'm going to now go down to my main messages view. there is the messages that I am filling up right here, right? So username 123123, you'll see this being filled out. And again, the reason why it's filling out with 10 messages in the blue there is because of this for each here. We obviously don't want to use this dummy 0 to 10 array, right? Or this range rather. We want to use the vm.recent messages that we just created, and that should do the trick there. For this, I am going to call this the recent message, just be explicit as to what it is. You'll see that there for the username, it's going to look like this, I believe. And that looks pretty good. We have this user here showing up as blank because we didn't save the email correctly. And the message should be down below. I will use the recent message dot text, and that'll give the text there. See, spacing, maybe a spacing value of 8 looks a little better. And I'm going to message this user once again. Let's see, maybe I'll change this to black. The email, foreground color of color.label, and that should give me what I want. Next thing I'll do is, I believe that is the, let's see, click on that. Am I the hello user, or who is that guy? Should be this. So test this user. I'll hit the send there, and I'll go back. So this user seems to be missing the email. So one thing that I'll do is I'm gonna go back to this this Firebase console, and I will hit the recent message here, click on that, and my messages are showing up right here. So this user is called hello@gmail.com. This user here is called the waterfall1@gmail.com. I'm not exactly sure why the email is not showing for this user here. One thing that's good to do is just stop and play. And for whatever reason, sometimes Firestore doesn't decode these values correctly, but as you can see with a refresh, the email is now coming in. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to show you for today's video. I'll make this dark gray to have that show up a little more, I guess, explicitly. The last thing I am going to do is I'm going to click on this right here. I'm going to message this hello user one more time. So last message for you, and I'll hit the send. So that shows up right there. I'm going to go back, and you'll see hello@gmail. This user is showing up multiple times inside of my list now. And you don't exactly want that to happen. So how do we go about, fixing this problem, right? Well, I'm going to go back to my fetch recent messages block. And for this fetching strategy that we've currently implemented with the for each loop there, you'll see we're adding a new message into Firebase every time. And if we apply this added check, you might think that this actually works. So last message for you is showing up for hello@gmail.com, right? So I'm going to message this person with the message of 999 and the send there. So that's the message there. And you'll see this doesn't actually change because the message inside of Firestore is just being overridden and it's not being added. And so whenever that happens, this right here doesn't actually do anything for us. So if I hit the resume with Command Option P, you'll see that the 999 is now showing up. So the question is, how do we go about How do we go about fixing this issue, right? Well, I'm just going to remove the added check here, and let me just remove it. I don't really want to see it anymore. What I'll do is every time a new message is coming in, regardless of it being overridden or added, it's going to execute this check here. What I'll do is first I will say this, so self recent messages, and I'm going to remove the message. So let me just remove the message at a certain index here, and I will say guard, let's see, if let index equals self.recent messages right here. Index where, I believe this is what I want. So I'm going to look for the message that I'm getting. And here is what I will do. I will do this here. So hit enter, and you'll get your recent message that you want to kind of filter out. I am going to do this here. I'm going to return rm.document ID equals the doc ID that I have above. So this index, I'll just remove it from my array, and then I'll add it onto the array back at the very top of the list. Okay, so I think I'm missing the brace there, and once I'm inside of this check here, I should be good to go. All right, so what's going to happen is I'm going to message this hello@gmail.com user again by clicking onto there and click on hello@gmail.com, and we'll see a new message here. Okay, so the new message will be 5678. I'll hit the send there. And then once I go back, you'll see that my 5678 is being updated at the very bottom of my list there. Again, what's happening is every time I get a new message saved into the recent messages node, I will get notified of that new message, and then I'll just remove it from my array if it actually contains it, and then I'll append it to the very end of the list. Now, you're not going to want to have it at the very end of the list. Instead, you want to do this in, let's see, recent messages right here, and you can do insert like so, and just insert it at the very beginning of the list there. And, this should be a working solution. I'll paste that here and comment that out, and you'll see hello 5678. I believe here is what I'll do. So 1, 2, 3, hit the send here. And once you hit the send, you'll see 1, 2, 3 appearing here. Now, you're also going to want to filter these guys out on the where condition of, I believe it's the field right here. Or is it the order? I believe so. Order by field, and I think you just want to use timestamp like that. All right, so 1, 2, 3 is now appearing up at the very top of the list. I'm going to message waterfall@gmail.com now. Click into that. Let's see. This message should now appear at the very top of main messages view. All right, hit send here. You'll see that below, and I will go back here, and now you'll see that there. All right, definitely a very long video, but trying to get this to work correctly inside of Firebase can be quite tricky. Let me go back down to my messages view here. If you want to make sure the alignment is correct, you can do this here, multi-line alignment, and I believe it's leading like so. Okay, so again, that's pretty much all I wanted to show in today's video. If you want to show, let's see, the web image for this guy right here, the string is here, so recent message right here, profile, image URL, and we'll just do this real quickly there, scale to fill, let's see, frame, with what's it, 64, height to 64, Clipped like that. No, so clipped is what I want, and rounded. So corner radius of 64. So that's pretty close to what I need. And we'll just get rid of this guy right here. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to have that. So again, that's pretty good. If you want to add this rounded radius, you can always do this overlay trick right here. So rounded rectangle has the corner radius of, so radius of 64, I believe. And we'll just do this right here. Again, this is pretty common for me to do now. Shadow radius of maybe 5, and it'll give you this right here. So we'll tone this down to 1, and now your list will look like this there. So that's pretty much how I generate all of my recent messages inside of my simulator here. A couple of things that you'll have to fix is the timestamp of your message looks like this with the 22 days. That's not exactly correct. Another thing that you'll have to verify is when you send your message from a different user, right? If that message is sent to this user here, fields@gmail.com, then you want to make sure that this list is functioning as well. So I'll leave that for maybe the next lesson. So yeah, this video is getting super long. So I'll leave you guys here, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.